Hi, builders and build organizers and build partners and anyone else, maybe some users, hopefully. My name is George and I'm a Backdrop Build v3 participant, and I'm very excited to share my build with you today. Before that, I'd like to give a big thank you to everyone whose hard work went into putting this program together. I've had a blast building the past couple of weeks, and so thank you. That said, I'd like to introduce Bartleby. Bartleby is a large language model-based conversational collaborator. Specific models and technology aside, I built Bartleby to really be a tool to interact with LLMs the way that I wanted to interact with LLMs. There are a few things that make it special. First, accessibility. Bartleby is open source and it uses open source models from Hugging Face. If you don't want to clone the GitHub repo and run it yourself, part of my launch is public availability as a chatbot on Discord. We're also compatible with the Matrix protocol, so the barrier to first interaction should hopefully be pretty low for folks that are reasonably techie. Second is the configurability. So in the chat interface, I've tried to give the user as much control as possible over what's going on under the hood of the LLM itself. Putting those two things together, I guess you could say the project takes the training wheels off of the chat-based LLM experience while still making it feel pretty easy and natural. You don't have to call an API, you don't have to edit any config files, unless of course you want to do those things. Okay, so with that, I think probably we should see it in action and look at some of the features. Here we are in a Discord channel where Bartleby and I are the only two active members. Let's say hi. Since we're the only two people here, I don't need to mention him directly in my message. If there were other folks active on the channel, then I'd want to @, him so he could recognize that I was talking directly to him. But as you can see, he replies and we can talk back and forth. This works great. What I'm really excited to show you, however, is the chat interface. And there's two ways to access the chat system. The first is through agent-like functionality built right into the chat, and the second is through the Discord/command system. All the available commands in the two modalities are documented in the project GitHub repo, but since Bartleby does have some agent-like functionality, we can just ask him what commands are available, and he'll tell us. So what commands can I use to control you? And he outputs his list of commands. Of course, you can rephrase this to a reasonable degree of sanity as long as it sort of means what you want it to mean. He'll get the gist of it and be able to execute the right command behind the scene. Okay, so just quickly looking at this list, there's a lot of really powerful, really cool stuff you can do with this. Everything from changing the system prompt to resetting the chat, choosing decoding modes, even setting specific generation configuration parameters. So let's give him a prompt and see if we can get a writing sample. So tell me a story about a bird and a turtle. Most, but not all, the commands are available through the agent interface. Some of the more nitpicky ones about setting parameters and things can only be accessed through the / commands. So, okay, we get some output here. A long time ago, there was a bird and a turtle. So he understood the assignment, but if we look at the output, it's a little bit short It's very light on detail, and reading it, it seems like it's cut off here. So this type of situation is where having access to the command interface is really powerful, because I can tweak and tune the LLM on the fly right in the chat to generate the type of output that I'm looking for. So let's look at the configuration that was used to generate this output. So I'll ask Bartleby, show me the current generation configuration. And he's going to show me a set of parameters here. These are the non-model default settings that are currently being used. And since our output was short, we want to make it a little bit longer. Let's try changing the maximum new tokens generated to a larger number. So to do this, I'm going to use a slash command. So set config max new tokens, and then I'm going to give it a new higher value. Let's try 256. I'm also going to ask him to reset the chat so he's not contaminated by the earlier truncated output. So reset the chat, please. The agent understands, clears the history, and now I can give him the prompt again. The generation configuration parameters are coming from the Hugging Face API. So using the slash commands, you're able to set the values for any of those parameters that would be in a Hugging Face generation configuration object. And so here's our output. We can see this time it's much longer, more complete, right? And we could push this farther and continue to tweak and tune other parameters like the model temperature and the sampling cutoffs and the decoding strategy to get something like what we're looking for. But the last cool feature I want to show you before we're getting long on time is Bartleby's ability to save his output as a docx file on Google Drive. So if we want to save the content of this message, there's basically two things we have to do right in the chat to set that up. First, we need to give Bartleby a shared Google Drive folder to upload his output to, and then we need to set a document title. So in order to set the upload target, we need a Google Drive folder share link. So I'm going to go to a folder I've made here on Google Drive, and I'm just going to go to share and copy the share link like you would if you were sharing this folder with a coworker. Now I'm going to use the slash command to set the G Drive folder. So set G Drive folder and paste the link in. Now our folder's set. Let's give the document a title. So I'm going to ask Bartleby to call the document the bird and the turtle. So he'll parse that and set it as the title. It will also be the file name. And now I'll just ask him to save and upload. Okay, he generates the document, and now if I go look at that G Drive folder, I have our brand new short story, the bird and the turtle, saved in docx format. Okay, so I think that's probably enough to give you a taste of what's possible with Bartleby. I will leave you with the GitHub repo. This is the home of all things Bartleby. Please feel free to fork it, clone it, submit pull requests, host it yourself. But remember that you can, of course, just add Bartleby to your own Discord server if you'd like to play around. And I hope you'll give it a try, and I look forward to any feedback, comments, suggestions, or contributions that folks might have. Thank you for listening.